Enjoy all episodes of the RCWR show on Blog Talk Radio, iTunes, Stitcher, Tunein Radio, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio. Hey WWE fans, be sure to check out the RCWR show live Monday nights on youtube.com/the RCWR show at 11:15 p.m. Eastern after WWE Raw for full fallout and review along with great live fan reactions.
What is going on, boys and girls? It's your man right here, the one and only Black Avenger, aka the Black Azrael Lee Sanders, coming at you with another DVD review, as this time around we're talking about former WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Yes, yours truly finally had an opportunity to kick on back and check out this DVD, and I must tell you guys, it was fantastic. Yes, fantastic. I am saying that sarcastically. I was watching this. I actually ended up watching this twice, okay? Now, the first time around, I was watching this with my nephew, and my nephew had said to me, Uncle Lee, he sure does say fantastic a lot, and I'm saying to myself, what are you talking about? Oh, you're tripping. He's like, no, he actually says fantastic a lot. And after we watched it the first time, I ended up later on in the week, I ended up watching it by myself. And I just said, okay, let's just take a counter meter, and every single time I hear the word fantastic, I'll just tap it. This guy says fantastic 50 times at least. It might be a little more than that, but I'm pretty sure 50 is the magic number. I couldn't believe how many times he was saying that. It's probably up even higher if you want to consider amazing as well. Then it's really spiked up. It's probably close to a damn 100, but with just the phrase fantastic itself, I got him saying it at least 50 times. You know, I felt that this DVD, I gotta give Rob Feinstein credit. He didn't go overkill with this shoot, and I think it mainly was a result of the fact that Del Rio, at this point during the recording of this shoot, he is just so popular right now for a lot of wrestling promotions in the US, outside especially, and not to mention he had just got done wrapping up his lawsuit with the WWE, and as a result of that, folks, he does not talk about the circumstances that led to his firing from the WWE. Rob Feinstein, he does bring it up kind of like around, I would say, the hour 35, 45 minute mark. He mentions how him and WWE, they had squashed whatever discrepancies that they had, and basically as a result of that, Del Rio would not go into details about that, but it was stressed that there was one interview that he conducted, or a few actually, where he did talk about the circumstances that happened with him being fired from the WWE. One of the ones that comes to mind is the popular show Wrestle Talk, which is based out in the UK, I think. So you all are more than welcome to go check that out. They do have that available. I think they ended up doing like a two-parter or three-parter, the way they had broke it up. I think it was like about maybe 45 minutes that they might have had him, anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes. So those of you that's looking for the meat and potatoes of that, you really should not be surprised by that, honestly, because just to kind of follow up for you long-time listeners on something that me and my broadcast partner, the evil genius of professional wrestling manager extraordinaire Titus Machiavelli, had talked about on our Monday live web show editions of the RCWR show, which you could catch after Raw goes off the air. I noted how, okay, well, you know what, the stuff that's happening with the WWE, now that it looks as though they both are settling, they've come to some type of an arrangement, I had put the attention out there of, hey, I wonder how much this is going to affect any future shoot projects that he's scheduled to do with Kayfabe, High Spots, RF video really makes you wonder, because they're going after him, because that's the meat and potatoes of that shoot. That's going to be the whole purpose of talking to Del Rio, I would think. And I noted how it should be interesting how they approach it now that he and the WWE have settled. I'll give you guys a link where we had talked about that at great length. It was really good, and I called it. I said it was probably gonna play a huge part on these DVDs, and the one he did with RF video is proof of that. But it was a good 2-hour journey. It didn't feel too much to overkill. Rob, he asks Alberto Del Rio about growing up in Mexico, dealing with real competition. How long did it take for him to finally realize through his uncle and his dad, especially when wrestling was kayfabe? And he told a funny story how he basically didn't know it was kayfabe until he decided to get into the wrestling business, because his father and his uncle, they did a really good job in trying to protect him over the years. As down in Mexico, something that he revealed is in Mexico, they really believe that with great passion, everything that they're seeing in the ring, it's real, that they really are seeing the best, realest competition, that the person that won the match in that night, they were truly the better athlete. So it's really real to them out there. Not to mention they do get injured in real life and all that. He talked about how at one point he had decided to go into the field of being an architect, and that's just something that he felt very passionate about, because he loves how things come together. He looks at buildings and sky rises, and it's just something that really jumped out to him. So he was about to go into that when he had got an offer to go work in Japan. And he did that. Eventually it had led to AAA. And back then when he was working for AAA, he noted that it was really terrible, because at the time no one was making any money. And it was just really a struggle for him to make ends meet while he was working in AAA. So much so that he was about to go into the construction industry until Japan had reached out to him again. One of the main reasons why he went to AAA that first go round was because of his dad. His dad had did so much work in the AAA promotion that he felt it would be a really easy transition to go in there. Plus, he could really learn from his dad and other people that his dad had worked with over the years in that promotion. He did note that over the years, not just in the AAA promotion, but also in the WWE, everywhere he went for the early part of his career, it was a little difficult, because he was a 3rd/4th generation wrestler, and everybody has those high expectations and everything. From there, he talked about how he did pretty good going into the field of MMA, and that the first few fights that he had won, he noticed that his purse kept going up until he had got his first defeat. And then afterwards, he had got some type of a reconstructed deal, which he didn't take because it was less than the last match that he won. And by this time around, John Laurinaitis, he actually had tried to reach out to him and get him to come on over to the WWE. But he said, nah, he wants to keep trying his whole hand in MMA and look at some other options that were available. Yes, Alberto Del Rio actually turned down WWE the first time around. So at this point, Del Rio was asked about comparing the AAA promotion to CMLL. And he said for CMLL, it's not where it used to be, because now CMLL is in a position where they lost their TV deal. They're losing sponsors. And right now, believe it or not, folks, they actually have this, what I definitely think is a very dumb mentality of they don't think that they need big names to bring in more of a fan base, to bring in their fan base, period. And he talked about how he's good friends with the owner of CMLL, Paco, and noted that he hasn't spoken to him yet about some of the concerns that he's been noticing with the promotion, but that he hopes to catch up with him one day and talk about it and find out what's going on. There was talk about what was going on with him as far as being the champion in CMLL and why he didn't defend the title like that. And he noted that in Mexico, they don't really care about the championship belts. I don't know how many of you are aware of that or can vouch for what he's saying, as he noted that what they really care about is mask versus mask matches or hair versus hair matches. They don't really care too much for singles matches. And he said that it wasn't just going down in that promotion, but all promotions. You could see a tag team champion not defend their titles for a couple of months. That's just the way that they operated. From there, he had talked about how WWE had tried to reach out to him a second go round. Once again, John Laurinaitis, as he was prepping to get back into MMA. Remember, he declined the first time. Here we are 2 years later, and they offered him a little bit more than what they offered him last time, because the first go round, when they tried to reach out to him, the money just wasn't enough. He said to them, look, I can make this doing the whole MMA thing or doing some stuff in Mexico. I don't really need to take this. And the argument was made, well, this is your big opportunity. You're going to blow this opportunity just to, do whatever you're doing down there. And Del Rio had brought up a very valid point that I think a lot of the internet wrestling community really takes for granted. And not to kind of get sidetracked, but, I don't consider myself to be part of the IWC. I don't put that label on myself, because with us and our product, we are so wide range. We aren't just limited to just talking about one specific topic or one specific genre. We are just so all over the place that, we aren't just wrestling. We just so happen to talk about it. And something that I've said over the years, definitely something off and on, my broadcast partner, Titus Machiavelli, has said off and on, which is, it's fun to be involved in the wrestling business. It's a great opportunity to get a lot of experience, get some exposure. Hey, maybe even meet some good friends in the process. But at the end of the day, you are very concerned about making money because you have financial responsibilities. You got bills that you need to pay. And for Del Rio, and why he declined the WWE the first go round, he had financial responsibilities. He had a girlfriend that was about to become his wife, a kid on the way. He needed to pay his bills. The second go round, they made him an offer that was pretty close to what he was doing in Mexico. And he said, all right, let's go on ahead. Let's do it. As making money to him, very important. And he talked about how it was so freaking grueling being in FCW at the time, because here he is at the age of 30 years old, I think it was, that he signed on with the WWE. This guy, he has years and years and years of wrestling knowledge and experience under his belt, around his belt. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he literally came out the womb of his mother just embracing the whole lucha libre and wrestling in general. And here he is, he has to run the ropes. He's acting like some 19-year-old runny-nosed kid that's constructing the ring, doing little errands, passing out flyers. He's doing all these things that should be happening when he's 19, not when he's 30. And for him, that just made no sense. He didn't like the whole walking up to certain individuals and shaking their hand and trying to be all respectful to them and all that. Now, he does know that a lot of those things don't happen in today's WWE, but that when he joined years back, that's how they were operating. But he talked about being miserable when it came to doing that. One of the first original names that they came up with for him was Antonio Banderas. And this came courtesy of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, because he felt that he looked a little bit like Antonio Banderas, even though Del Rio felt he didn't look anything like that guy. But that was one of the original names that they had for him. He said the Del Rio part would come later as a suggestion of somebody who liked this famous actress. And he was like, okay, well, let's go with that. That sounds good. And what was really clever for him back then, when he was choosing his name, he said, look, I like the Del Rio thing, but we're going to continue to call me Alberto. And at that point, what he was thinking was, if there should ever come a time where he was no longer going to be involved in World Wrestling Entertainment, that at least the fan base would still know him because he has Alberto. And after all, Alberto is his real name. So it wouldn't be that difficult of a transition. Smart move on this man from way back when. Soon the topic had turned to what's going on with Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, Vince McMahon. How were they receptive to him? And he noted that Triple H and Stephanie, honestly, from what he was able to gather, he wasn't on their list of people that, oh, yeah, we really like this guy. Yeah, we definitely got to look out for him. He didn't really get that type of support. He wasn't picking up that type of vibe from them that they liked him like that. Vince McMahon, on the other hand, he noted, has always liked his work, always liked his style, would always try to stick up for him, go to bat. Those times where Del Rio had went babyface, Vince was like, hey, what's going on with you? You don't really seem like you're really feeling this. What's going on? Del Rio told him, and Vince was like, yeah, I've always liked you as a heel. Let me see what I can do. We'll see if we can change things around for you. There was one other time, I'm not sure if you guys recall, but remember when it looked as though Rosa Mendez was going to be teamed up with Alberto and they were going to possibly kick Ricardo to the side, or maybe it was going to be a Latin stable that was going to form? Well, Rosa Mendez, just the thought of her being teamed up with Del Rio, as far as he was concerned, it came off like career suicide. He felt that if they were to go down that avenue booking wise with him and Rosa, that there would just be no way for him to come back from that. And as a result of that, he did not want to take that risk. He felt that it was a huge mistake for he and Rosa to be teaming up. So he actually had told Vince McMahon about it and everything. And if not Vince McMahon, definitely somebody high up in WWE. I'm leaning more towards Vince McMahon, and they were able to change that. But Vince McMahon has always tried to stick up for Del Rio, because as far as Vince was concerned, him being a natural heel, he did it so well. He knew how to make people tick and all that. Del Rio had noted that a lot of his success that he had in the WWE, he owes a lot to Rey Mysterio. He felt that Rey Mysterio opened up a lot of doors for him, not just in the WWE, but it opened up a lot of doors for him in the eyes of the Latin community, because when they first heard that Del Rio was getting out of the whole mask gimmick and all that, they felt that he was betraying a Mexican / lucha libre tradition, and that he was just doing it all in the name of money. But for him, and he went on record saying this to Rob, he did what he did because he wanted to further his career. He wanted to gain the experience. And when it's all said and done, the opinion that really mattered to him the most was his dad. And his dad was like, look, as long as you're happy doing what you're doing down there, nothing else matters. Brodus Clay's name came up. He said he loved working with Brodus Clay. He wished that he and Brodus would have been working longer. He thought it was a bad mistake that certain people made in WWE that removed Brodus from his entourage. And he actually noted saying that he hopes to be working with Del Rio somewhere down, he said that he hoped to be working with Brodus Clay somewhere down the road. But as far as like smart booking 101 goes, he just didn't understand when he was so white hot when he first came up the main roster and he had the whole card thing going on, the mansions. He didn't understand why his character wasn't put in situations where he would pay referees or, he would pay to have bodyguards or whatever. He would use his unlimited financial resources at his disposal to get whatever he wants. Just one of those head scratchers that kind of make you go, what the hell is going on right there? From there, the talk had turned to Edge, Christian. Edge, as far as he was concerned, it was a great honor to work him in his last match, and of all places at WrestleMania. He noted that originally he was supposed to be the champion, and that at least 2 hours before Mania, he was told that changes had came and that they were going to go with Edge as champion instead. He didn't challenge it. He didn't ask what was going on. It really wouldn't be until the next day did he find out what was going on with Edge, and the two of them had talked and everything, and he said he was fine with it. He totally respected WWE's decision once he understood what had went down. He was just ecstatic that he was able to say, hey, I had the last match with Edge. My last match, or Edge's last match, was against me. So for him, that was like pretty freaking awesome. Christian, he said that guy was so freaking underrated. That man just, he loves working with him. Christian is just one of those guys where he already has the match in mind. It's already laid out. He knows exactly what he wants to do. He is such a true professional and such an executionist special, if that's even a word. That's the word I'm going with for tonight, so deal with it. But he really did a good job in putting Christian over. Sin Cara's failures in the WWE, he noted from his experience in dealing with Sin Cara's, and the original Sin Cara I'm talking about, mind you. He noted that this guy, he had the opportunity to go down to FCW/NXT to spend a couple of months honing his craft. He did not want to do that. And understand, in his country, he was all that and a bag of chips. In his country, he was like John Cena or whatever. So he did not want to go there, and he didn't want to do that. The question was asked if the whole language barrier was an issue, and as far as Del Rio was concerned, no, because he wrestled a lot in Japan and other places, and when it comes to being in the ring and talking wrestling, that's not a problem. So as far as he was concerned, language issues, no. But the fact that Sin Cara would not try to learn WWE system as Del Rio did, that is really what ultimately led to his big failures in that company and ultimately led to his release. One thing that really jumps out at me during this interview is how Del Rio talked about how overall for the 6 years that he was there in the WWE, the first 3 to 4 years, it was awesome. He loved it. He enjoyed himself, but then the last 2 years, it was just freaking miserable. And a lot of that can kind of be pointed to the change in talent relations. Alberto Del Rio, he did kind of go on record, unofficially, but as you're watching the interview, you'll come to the same conclusion as well. He really, really enjoyed it when John Laurinaitis was in charge of talent relations, because this guy, he took care of the talents, even outside of wrestling. He told this really cool story, how he was doing some PR stuff in Europe, and they were doing like a lot of media blitz stuff, and basically Del Rio was on the road for like 30 days, and he was just going crazy because like he did not see his family for such an extended period of time. And one day John went up to him and was like, hey, is everything okay? You doing all right? You look like you're about to blow. And Del Rio was like, yes, what's next? Am I going to like be put into a box and I'm going to be shipped to the next city or state? And Laurinaitis is like, look, you just got to hang in there for X amount more weeks. This is really important. We got to get this out the way. And John did something really badass. He actually flew Del Rio's entire family out to be with him for those several days that he was doing the media blitz, and had all traveling expenses taken care of. And John Laurinaitis also had played a huge hand in getting his uncle inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. He said that, with Triple H in charge, it's not happy. It's not fun anymore. He said when he first got there used to be a time that when it came to the writing, for the most part, they had a lot of stuff written out anywhere from 6 months to a year. He said with today's current WWE product, everything is very fast. 1 minute you have this, and then 24 hours later, it turns into something completely different. And it just drove him crazy. A lot of the things he just did not understand, especially with the way that he was being booked. He also talked about what it was like working with Ricardo Rodriguez. Kind of echoes on what Ricardo had said on his shoot interview. If you guys didn't check out our review for that one, I'll have a link be available in this episode description. But, he kind of echoed exactly what Ricardo had said as far as them. They kicked it off the break, and they became the best of friends. And Del Rio noted how he actually is renting out, I think, a property that he owns to Ricardo. So that's just how really close both of those guys are. Del Rio had also talked about what was going on with his younger brother, why things did not go so well for him when he went into WWE's developmental. And basically, as far as Del Rio was concerned, there's like 300 people total as far as wrestlers go in the WWE. Out of that 300, they only need about 50. And for Del Rio, it's just baffling why they keep so many other people when they're just going to go with 50. It makes no sense. And for him, he said for his younger brother, the main concern that he saw was his brother wasn't really getting paid like that. He was only getting like about maybe $500 a week or every 2 weeks or something like that. And it just wasn't enough money. And he was always asking him to help him out with a loan or whatever. And eventually Del Rio had said to him, look, you have to really decide for yourself if you're really getting everything that you need from them as far as money, as far as the experience, the teaching. If you aren't really getting everything that your heart desires from them, then you need to do what you need to do to get up out of there. And so eventually his younger brother had rolled out from there. So those of you that's a little bit curious what happened with regards to that, now you know. But it was really I thought it was a solid interview. I mean, he really didn't say anything that was really ear-dropping. He didn't bury anybody. I mean, I know he was asked about John Cena and, if he's the ultimate political stroker backstage and all that. And Del Rio said no. Not at all. He doesn't get that vibe from him at all. He doesn't feel that John Cena goes backstage and goes, hey, this guy shouldn't be on the roster, or we should get rid of this guy. He feels that to an extent, Cena may use his position and experience in the company to make certain things go down, but for the better of good, not to try to get himself over or anything like that. So it was really nice in putting him over. He also had put over Randy Orton. And he didn't bury anybody during this shoot interview. And that might disappoint some of you guys, especially when you think about all the stuff he was saying about the WWE and how they were racist and all this other stuff. I know probably a lot of you guys are really looking forward to that type of talk. But, unfortunately, he didn't go into a bashing session on them, at least for this shoot. Question was asked whether or not he would return to the WWE if they called him up the next day and said, look, we want you to be at January's Royal Rumble pay-per-view, or a couple of months down the road. Give him a call, say they want him to come back. He said, honestly, where he is right now, he is having so much fun that he just could not entertain the thought of going back to the WWE. Not for all the money in the world. He loves what he's doing with the various promotions. He loves the fact that eventually, when the opportunity arises, he's going to be able to do some stuff with Lucha Underground, which he said he could do at any day. As you all know, he's now going to be doing some stuff in Ring of Honor. I believe his very first match is going to be against Christopher Daniels, so that's going to be freaking fantastic. I'm actually going to check out the Ring of Honor promotion to see how Del Rio does over there for for those first couple of matches that he's going to be having. But, you know, he doesn't really say anything new. I mean, all the shoots that I've been seeing so far, there is a common theme that's going on, which is WWE. It is not a fun place to work. You come there and, heaven forbid, it's a situation where you've worked in other wrestling promotions and you're like, wow, yeah, it's fun. Oh, me and the boys, we do this, we do that. And it's so loose and it's laid back. WWE, on the contrary, you know, it's nothing like you would expect it to be. As even as far as pitching ideas go, the Rio had noted that they don't use them, or if they do use them, they don't use them for you, they use them for other people. But, you know, they want you to wrestle a certain style. They really don't want you to come in there and give your own input, things of that nature. So it's kind of like, you know, what the hell? Overall, though, if you're a big fan of Alberto, I'd say to you, go ahead, check out the DVD. If you've managed to steer clear of the wrestling headlines and all that, and you're trying to hear him in his own words, you know, I'd say go on ahead, check it out. Just know that he's not going to be talking about the circumstances of his WWE firing. So, I mean, you just got to really take it for what it's worth. Now, you veteran shoot DVD collectors, I got to be honest with you, this is one DVD that you might want to skip. I mean, he has talked about the circumstances from his WWE release very candidly on a couple of podcasts and all that. If you just go out there, do a Bing or Google search, you'll be able to find them with ease. This is definitely one that, you know, you may want to skip. I mean, there's really nothing juicy that's in here, not even as far as his days in AAA, CMLL, barely highlighted. I just really felt a little disappointed with this shoot. I was expecting so much more, not because of the standpoint as far as the whole WWE firing, but I was just expecting more. I was expecting it to be right up there with Eddie Guerrero, you know, but unfortunately it just did not go that route. And I think that's not the fault of Alberto. I think that's more on the shoulders of Rob. I don't really think Rob did that good of a job in the type of questions that he had for Alberto. You know, I think anybody else that would have been in that seat across from Alberto would have been able to come up with some really fun and insightful questions that really would have made those 2 hours be worthwhile, you know. But I'd have to say, bottom line, overall rating, scale of 1 to 10, I gotta give this shoot DVD a respected 5.5 out of 10. You know, I'm really baffled at the fact that Rob allowed Alberto to say fantastic 50 times. If that would have been me, like at one point after I heard like that word being said 20 times, I would have actually paused it and I would have said, hey, are you nervous by chance? Are you okay? Because I noticed you keep saying fantastic. You know, I don't want you to come off like a laughing stock throughout social media, but, you know, I'm just letting you know. I mean, if you want to continue to use that word, by all means, go ahead and do it, but I'm just letting you know you're kind of saying that word a lot, you know. So I that's just me. I could just be nitpicking on that. But bottom line, I got to give this a 5.5 out of 10. And like I said, Del Rio, he did his job. He showed up. It ultimately comes down to Rob and the type of questions that he had for him. Not one of the strongest shoot interview DVDs I've seen from RF Video, at least this calendar year. Hey, is there a DVD you'd like for me to review? You know, it doesn't have to be just wrestling. Maybe it's a movie or a concert or whatnot. Love to hear from you. Post your comments down below. You can also interact with us throughout social media, such as Twitter at the RCWR Show, or on our Facebook page at Infinity One Productions. That's Infinity with an E, spell out one. So Infinity One Productions, to infinity and beyond, baby. If you enjoyed this, make sure you give this a like. You could share it a number of ways by Facebooking it, retweeting it, Google Plusing it. As always, it's one of the many ways you can spread the good word about our content. Those of you that saw this DVD, I would especially love to know what you thought about this. We will definitely follow up on what y'all have to say on a future episode of the RCWR show, as we'll share your reactions / interactions on this DVD. All right. And if it's your first time checking us out, hey man, I'd love to have you subscribe to us so that you never miss out on all the great content we do for you here on a weekly basis. Whether we're doing some really cool laid back reviews like what we're doing right now, or we're breaking news, or we have some really fun and insightful interviews. We got a little bit of something for everybody. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Once again, if you like this, make sure you give it a thumbs up and share it throughout social media. We got podcast episodes available, which you can check out in the episode description for all the links. We have a store as well where you can buy some really cool merchandise. All the links you need is in the episode description. Until next go round, Black Avenger, aka the Black Azrael Lee Sanders, wishing all of you all to be safe and most importantly, be kind to one another. We will see you next go round. Everybody do take care.